The 1976 D-Mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar is one of the most iconic modern U.S. coins because it was created to celebrate the bicentennial of American independence, marking 200 years since 1776. Unlike regular half-dollars, this special issue carries the dual date, 1776 to 1976 on the obverse, making it instantly recognizable and historically meaningful. Although many people casually call it a 1976 half-dollar, all bicentennial half-dollars, whether struck in 1975 or 1976, share the same 1776 to 1976 date because the U.S. Mint suspended the use of the single year during the bicentennial program. The D-Mint mark indicates this coin was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the largest and most productive U.S. mints. On the obverse front, the coin features the familiar left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts shortly after Kennedy's assassination in 1963. Above Kennedy's head is the word liberty, a core principle of the United States and a constant theme in American coinage. The national motto "In God We Trust" appears in front of Kennedy's face, while the dual date 1776 to 1976 is placed below the portrait. The overall design was intentionally kept the same as the regular Kennedy half-dollar so that Americans would instantly recognize the coin, while the date itself served as the primary symbol of the bicentennial celebration. The reverse, back, is where the bicentennial half-dollar truly stands apart. Instead of the traditional presidential seal used on standard Kennedy half-dollars, the bicentennial issue displays a dramatic Independence Hall design, created by artist Seth G. Huntington, who won a national design competition. Independence Hall, located in Philadelphia, is one of the most important buildings in U.S. history. It is where both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were debated and adopted. Above the building appears the inscription United States of America, while E pluribus unum, Latin four out of many one, is positioned above or near the building. At the bottom, the denomination half-dollar is clearly stated. This reverse design symbolically connects the coin to the birth of the nation and reinforces the patriotic purpose of the bicentennial series. In terms of composition, the 1976 D bicentennial half-dollar is made of copper nickel clad, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This is important because many people mistakenly believe all bicentennial half-dollars contain silver. In reality, only special collector versions struck at the San Francisco Mint, S-Mint mark, were made with 40% silver, and those were sold directly to collectors. The Denver Mint versions, including the 1976 D, were intended for general circulation and contain no silver. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of about 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, matching standard Kennedy half-dollar specifications. The mintage of the 1976 D bicentennial half-dollar was extremely high. Over 287 million coins were produced at the Denver Mint alone. This massive production ensured that nearly every American would have access to the coin during the bicentennial celebrations. Because of this large mintage, the coin is not rare, even decades later. Many examples remain in circulation, and countless others were saved by the public as souvenirs of the bicentennial, often kept in drawers, albums, or family collections. From a collector's perspective, the 1976 D bicentennial half-dollar is valued more for its historical and patriotic significance than for scarcity. In circulated condition, the coin is generally worth face value, 50 cents. In uncirculated condition, especially with strong luster and no contact marks, it may be worth $1 to $3, and sometimes slightly more if professionally graded. Exceptionally well-preserved coins graded MS-65 or higher by major grading services can command higher prices, though they are still relatively affordable compared to rarer U.S. coins. Coins with unusual mint errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets, can be worth significantly more, depending on the type and severity of the error. Culturally and historically, the 1976 D bicentennial half-dollar represents a unique moment in American numismatics. It was part of a broader bicentennial coin program that also included redesigned quarter dollars, featuring a colonial drummer, and dollar coins, featuring the Liberty Bell and the moon. These coins were issued during a time of reflection and national pride, as the United States looked back on 2 centuries of independence while also facing modern challenges. For many Americans, the bicentennial half-dollar became a keepsake rather than a spending coin, which is one reason so many survive today in good condition. In summary, the United States 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar with the D Mint mark is a powerful symbol of American history and unity. While it is not a rare or high-value coin in monetary terms, it holds lasting appeal due to its bold Independence Hall reverse, its connection to the nation's 200th anniversary, and its role as one of the most widely recognized commemorative circulation coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. If you own one, You are holding a small but meaningful piece of America's bicentennial legacy, United States. Next, top 2. The 1983 D Mint Mark Kennedy half dollar is an important coin in modern U.S. numismatics, not because it is rare in absolute numbers, but because it comes from a very special and unusual period in American coin production. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D Mint mark on the obverse, and it belongs to the long-running Kennedy half dollar series, first introduced in 1964 to honor the late President John F. Kennedy. By 1983, the half dollar was no longer commonly used in everyday commerce, which makes coins from this era, especially in high condition, much more interesting to collectors today. The obverse front of the 1983 D half dollar features the iconic left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, chief engraver of the United States Mint. Above Kennedy's head is the word Liberty, representing one of the most fundamental ideals of the United States. In front of Kennedy's profile appears the national motto "I in God We Trust," and just below the portrait is the date 1983, with a D Mint mark positioned near the truncation of the neck. The design remained unchanged from earlier years, preserving continuity and respect for Kennedy's legacy while maintaining public recognition of the coin. The reverse back of the coin displays the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo, who also served as chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. At the center is a powerful heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, holding an olive branch and arrows in its talons, symbols of peace and strength. Above the eagle is a ring of stars representing the states of the Union, while the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum appear around the design. At the bottom, the denomination half dollar is clearly stated. This classic reverse emphasizes national unity, authority, and continuity of government. In terms of metal composition, the 1983 D Kennedy half dollar is made of copper-nickel clad, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. By 1983, the U.S. Mint had long since discontinued silver in circulating half dollars. Silver was last used in standard circulation halves in 1970. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of approximately 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, matching the standard specifications of the modern Kennedy half dollar series. One of the most important things about the 1983 D half dollar is its production context. In 1982 and 1983, the U.S. Mint did not produce half dollars for general circulation. Instead, these coins were struck only for collectors, mainly through mint sets. As a result, relatively few 1983 D half dollars entered circulation compared to earlier decades. The total mintage for the 1983 D Kennedy half dollar was about 32 million coins, which may sound high, but is actually low by modern circulating standards, especially for half dollars that were not actively used in everyday transactions. Because most 1983 D half dollars were preserved in mint sets, many surviving examples are found in uncirculated condition, often with original mint luster. However, truly high-grade coins, those with sharp strikes, clean fields, and minimal contact marks, are still challenging to find because the minting quality of early 1980s coins was not always consistent. Bag marks and weak strikes are common, making premium examples more desirable among collectors. From a value standpoint, the 1983 D Kennedy half dollar is usually worth more than face value, especially if it is uncirculated. A circulated coin typically sells for around 75 cents to $1.50, mainly due to collector demand rather than metal value. An uncirculated example can range from $2 to $5, while coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services may command higher prices, particularly if they have strong eye appeal. Coins with mint errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or missing clad layers, can be worth significantly more, depending on rarity and condition. Historically, the 1983 D half dollar reflects a time when the half dollar was slowly disappearing from everyday American life. Vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers were no longer designed to accommodate the coin, and public demand was very low. Despite this, the U.S. Mint continued to produce the half dollar as part of its commitment to maintaining denominations authorized by law. Today, this situation gives coins like the 1983 D a unique identity. They are modern coins with limited circulation, bridging the gap between everyday money and collector-focused issues. In conclusion, the United States of America 1983 D Kennedy half dollar with Liberty is a coin of quiet importance. While it is not rare in the traditional sense, its collector-only production, lower circulation presence, and connection to the long-running Kennedy series make it a meaningful piece for numismatists. It represents a transitional era in U.S. coinage, when the half dollar shifted from a common spending coin to a denomination primarily preserved by collectors, making the 1983 D half dollar a small but fascinating chapter in American monetary history. United States. Next, top 3. The 1996 P Mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar is a modern issue of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series and represents an important phase in U.S. coinage when the half-dollar had largely disappeared from everyday circulation but continued to be produced for collectors and limited institutional use. The P Mint mark shows that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest and most historic mint facility in the United States. By 1996, more than 3 decades had passed since the Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, yet the design, symbolism, and national respect associated with President John F. Kennedy remained strong, keeping the coin popular among collectors and the general public. The obverse, front, of the 1996 P half-dollar features the well-known left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, created by Gilroy Roberts, who was the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time the design was adopted. Above Kennedy's head appears the word liberty, a central theme of American identity and freedom. In front of the portrait is the national motto "I in God We Trust," reflecting the country's spiritual and cultural heritage. Below the portrait is the date 1996, with the P Mint mark positioned just above the truncation of Kennedy's neck. The overall design is clean, balanced, and instantly recognizable, maintaining continuity with earlier Kennedy half-dollars. The reverse, back of the coin carries the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo, another prominent U.S. Mint engraver. At the center is a powerful heraldic eagle with wings spread wide, symbolizing strength, vigilance, and national authority. The eagle clutches an olive branch in one talon, representing peace, and a bundle of arrows in the other, representing readiness to defend the nation. A ring of stars above the eagle symbolizes the States of the Union. Surrounding the design are the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, while the denomination half-dollar is clearly displayed at the bottom. This reverse design reinforces the ideals of unity and federal strength. In terms of metal composition, the 1996 P Kennedy half-dollar is made of copper-nickel clad, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This composition has been standard for circulating Kennedy half-dollars since 1971, after silver was fully removed from the denomination for circulation purposes. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of approximately 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, all of which are standard specifications for modern U.S. half-dollars. The mintage of the 1996 P Kennedy half-dollar was approximately 3.6 million coins, which is relatively low compared to earlier decades when tens or even hundreds of millions of half-dollars were produced annually. By the mid-1990s, half-dollars were no longer struck in large numbers for circulation because public demand was minimal. Instead, most 1996 P half-dollars were produced primarily for collectors, government reserves, and inclusion in official U.S. mint sets, which explains why many examples survive today in uncirculated condition. From a collector's perspective, the 1996 P half-dollar is more desirable than many common-date Kennedy halves because of its low mintage and limited circulation. In circulated condition, the coin is typically worth around face value to about $1, depending on demand. In uncirculated condition, prices usually range from $2 to $6, with higher values for coins that show strong mint luster, sharp strikes, and minimal contact marks. Professionally graded examples in MS65 or higher can bring even stronger premiums. Coins with mint errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or missing clad layers, are especially collectible and may be worth significantly more. Historically, the 1996 P Kennedy half-dollar reflects a period when the U.S. Mint continued to honor tradition despite changing economic realities. While smaller denominations like the quarter and dime dominated daily transactions, the half-dollar became more of a symbolic and collectible coin rather than a practical one. Nevertheless, its continued production maintained continuity with America's monetary heritage and preserved public access to a denomination closely associated with one of the nation's most admired presidents. In summary, the United States of America 1996 P Kennedy half-dollar with Liberty is a meaningful modern coin that combines historical respect, national symbolism, and collector appeal. Though not made of precious metal, its low mintage, connection to the enduring Kennedy design, and limited circulation status give it lasting interest among collectors. Owning a 1996 P half-dollar means holding a piece of modern American numismatic history, quiet, dignified, and firmly rooted in the ideals of liberty and unity United States.